The smoke rose in twisted columns against the twilight sky, carrying with it the acrid stench of burning timber and something far worse, the unmistakable scent of human fear. Varian perched atop the cliff face, his obsidian scales drinking in the dying light, his ancient eyes reflecting flames that danced across the valley below. He had seen this before, centuries ago, millennia perhaps. The Korthax raiders were efficient in their brutality, their plasma weapons reducing the humble settlement to ash and screams within minutes. The dragon's massive form remained perfectly still, a statue carved from shadow and starlight, as he watched another human village succumb to the galaxy's cruelty. Not my concern, he told himself, as he had told himself 1,000 times before. Dragons did not interfere. They observed. They endured. They remembered when all others had forgotten. That was their burden, their purpose in this vast and uncaring universe. The Korthax were a scourge that had plagued this sector for generations. Insectoid raiders with exoskeletons like polished amber and mandibles that could shear through steel. They took what they wanted: resources, technology, slaves. The human colonies on the frontier were easy prey, too far from Earth's protection, too stubborn to abandon their homesteads despite the warnings. Varian had watched humans for 3,000 years, ever since their primitive vessels first stuttered into the void on chemical rockets. He had seen them spread across the stars like persistent weeds, taking root in the most inhospitable places, building their fragile homes on worlds that tried their best to kill them. Foolish, admirable, heartbreaking. A child's scream cut through the roar of flames. The dragon's head turned fractionally, his eyes, older than most civilizations, narrowing. There, stumbling through the burning wreckage of what had once been a grain storage facility, was a small human. A female child, no more than 6 or 7 standard years. Her clothes were singed, her face streaked with soot and tears. She clutched something to her chest, a stuffed animal, synthetic fur matted with ash. Behind her, a Korthax warrior emerged from the smoke, its plasma rifle humming with lethal charge. Still not my concern, but Varian found he could not look away. The child, Ilara Wynn, he would later learn her name, turned to face the creature that towered over her. She should have run, should have screamed. Instead, she planted her feet in the burning soil and raised her small fist, her voice carrying across the devastation with surprising clarity. "You can't have Mr. Buttons." The absurdity of it struck Varian like a physical blow. Here was a child, facing certain death, defending a toy with the same fierce determination he had seen in human soldiers defending their starships. The raider raised its weapon, chittering something in its clicking language, probably amusement. The dragon moved before he realized he had decided to move. Varian's wings unfurled, vast membranes that blotted out the stars, and he dropped from the cliff like a falling mountain. The air screamed around him as he plummeted, his ancient body remembering the joy of flight, of purpose. He struck the ground between the Korthax and the child with enough force to crater the earth, his roar shaking the flames themselves. The raider barely had time to register the dragon's presence before Varian's tail whipped around, catching the creature mid-torso and sending it flying into the burning remains of a building. The plasma rifle discharged harmlessly into the sky. Silence fell, broken only by the crackling of flames and the child's labored breathing. Varian turned his massive head to regard Ilara Wynn. She stared up at him with eyes wide as moons, tears cutting clean tracks through the soot on her cheeks. She clutched her stuffed animal tighter. The dragon expected her to run, to scream, to show the primal fear all creatures felt in the presence of an apex predator. Instead, she whispered, "Thank you." Something in Varian's ancient heart cracked. More Korthax were coming. He could hear their chittering communications, see their heat signatures moving through the ruins. The village was lost, its inhabitants dead or scattered. The logical action would be to leave, to return to his observatory and his solitude, to let the galaxy continue its indifferent spin. But when he looked at this child, this small human who had faced death defending a toy, who had thanked a monster for saving her, he saw something he had not seen in centuries: hope that refused to die. The dragon lowered his wing, its leathery surface still warm from flight. "Come, small one. We must leave this place." Ilara hesitated for only a heartbeat before scrambling beneath the offered wing, pressing her tiny body against scales that had weathered solar storms and cosmic radiation. Varian folded his wing around her, creating a shelter from the flames, from the smoke, from the horror of what she had witnessed. "My mama," she whispered against his scales. "My papa, I know, child. I am sorry." The Korthax emerged from the smoke in a coordinated assault pattern, plasma weapons charging in unison. They had killed dragons before, rare, yes, but not impossible. Varian was ancient, not immortal, but he was also very, very angry. The dragon's maw opened, and what emerged was not fire. Dragons had evolved past such primitive displays millennia ago. Instead, pure stellar plasma erupted from his throat, matter heated to temperatures found only in the cores of dying stars. The Korthax raiders evaporated, their amber exoskeletons sublimating directly to vapor. More came. More died. When the last raider fell, Varian spread his wings, one still carefully curved around the child, and launched himself into the night sky. Below, the village continued to burn, a funeral pyre for humans who had dared to dream of a peaceful life among the stars. As they climbed above the smoke, Alara Wynn looked up at the dragon's face, her small hand pressed against his scales. "Where are we going?" Varian gazed at the stars spreading endlessly before them, at the vast and dangerous galaxy that had just orphaned this child, and he felt something he had not felt in centuries: purpose. "Somewhere safe," he rumbled. "Somewhere I can teach you what your parents would have taught you. Somewhere you can grow strong enough that no one will ever make you run again." The child nodded, exhaustion finally claiming her as she curled beneath his wing. Varian felt her breathing slow, felt the weight of her trust settle on his ancient shoulders like a mantle. He had observed for millennia, watching civilizations rise and fall, maintaining his distance, keeping his vow of non-interference. But humans had a way of making dragons break their vows. They were persistent like that. Foolish, admirable, heartbreaking. As Varian carried Alara Wynn toward the distant stars, he made a new vow, not of observation, but of protection. The galaxy would learn that humans, for all their fragility, had allies in unexpected places, and that ancient dragons, when finally moved to action, were absolutely terrifying. Behind them, the village burned to ash. Ahead, the stars waited,